I want to congratulate you and We the World on the 20th anniversary of 11 days of global unity. Together, you, me, and we can create a better world and have fun doing it.
We want to express deep gratitude to Dr. Jane Goodell for helping We the World and all our partners to celebrate over 20 years of 11 days of global unity. And thank you for joining us. Welcome to the 11 Days of Global Unity Summit, featuring visionary leaders and activists, profound dialogues, and bold calls to action. We are promoting the hashtag urgency for action. It's urgency, the number 4, and then action, hashtag urgency for action. We are using that in all our activities. My name is Birgit Ben-Eli, and I'm the Director of Strategic Engagement and International Outreach for We the World. Today, I'm excited that we will be joined by Sue Blythe and her special guest speakers, who will be talking about the theme environment of the 11 Days of Global Unity. For the full 11 days summit schedule, you can register for free by going to 11daysofglobalunity.org. 11 is a numeral and 11daysofglobalunity.org. There you can see all the 11 days summit broadcasts. And at we.net, you can take action with the 11 campaigns for change, subscribe to Trans Magazine, and you can make a contribution to support all this work by going to we.net/donate. Thank you so much. Before we bring on our extraordinary speakers, I want to acknowledge some of our amazing partners who we support and collaborate with during 11 days of global unity and all year round. The UN International Day of Peace NGO Committee, Peace Day Philly, the Unite for Peace Coalition, which includes Unity Earth, the Sign Network, One World Rising Global Powwow, We Rise as One, Hubcast Media, The Awakening World, We the World, also Climate Week, the Deep and Rapid Transformation Convergence, Pause the World for Peace in Times Square, and Pace e Bene Nonviolence Campaign. What an amazing movement representing literally millions of people working to achieve global unity, all working with We the World and the We campaign at we.net. Now let's bring in our host, Rick Olphig. Rick Olphig is the founder of We the World at we.net and the co-creator of 11 Days of Global Unity. Welcome to the broadcast, Rick Olphig.
Thank you, Birgit, and thank you all so much for joining us. Welcome to the 11 Days of Global Unity Summit. Our summit panels are on each of the 11 summit themes, which range from unity to environment to women to human rights, freedom, and peace. Unfortunately, we are living in a time when in the USA, there has been an erosion of the rule of law, civil rights, and even human rights, democracy, and freedom, which is harming millions of people in the US and also around the world. And we have seen a rollback of support for expanding renewable energy, which is not only essential to address climate disruption, it is crucial to save people's lives. Over 90,000 people die each year from air pollution in the United States alone, and over 8 million people die annually from air pollution worldwide. And the main source of air pollution is the use of fossil fuels. That's why the work of Sue Blythe is so important.
Sue Blythe, M.Ed, is a peace educator, having taught at all levels from preschool to college to senior centers. She is currently teaching climate action for peace in a community engagement pilot program with We the World in the University of Florida Extension. The Florida Climate Conversation to Action program tells an evolving new story for the human family and the community of life on Earth. Sue dedicates this story to her grandchildren and all grandchildren.
And Sue Blythe founded the Climate Collaboratory, the Gardens of Global Unity, as well as launching the Welcome to We show for We the World. And Sue has been a longtime partner and friend, as well as a frequent participant in 11 Days of Global Unity. So, Sue, could you please introduce the conversation that you are about to have on the environment? And welcome to the broadcast, Sue Blythe.
Thank you, Rick. And I'm just delighted to be here with you once again. It's been many years. I think 2018 is when I discovered We the World and could see automatically that you were also telling the story that I want to tell about how the world is learning. We are learning to create peace on and with the earth. And I know that in 2020 and 21, we put together a Welcome to We show that was like a final project for a course that I taught in collaboration with the University of Florida's Sustainable Floridians program. And we invited people in the course to create their own climate story. What was important to them? How did they come up? What was their understanding, their feelings, and their experience with the climate change, and what are they doing about it? And so since that time, I've been collecting other voices and bringing it all together into what we call a climate conversation in action in Alachua County. And the way that's working now is that we are celebrating America's 250th birthday next July. And we're starting in the Gardens of Global Unity, right on We the World's website, to give seed ideas that we can grow during the year. We're inviting children, youth, adults, and elders to do age-appropriate activities that together really put a wonderful community-wide climate conversation together with the arts. It's all a participatory arts, and we have young people doing videos and performances, and it's just been tremendous fun to see this happen. So in July, we're going to be celebrating both America's independence, starting in 1776, and now in 2026, our interdependence. And we use the Earth Charter as a guide for helping us to bring this planetary transformation into being. So welcome to our collaborative storytelling adventure on the road to 2030, 2050, and beyond. Hello, it's me, Grandma Sue Blythe, and I have a story to tell my grandchildren and all grandchildren. I want them to know that they're part of a mighty spiritual enterprise, like small drops of local action in wave after wave of global movement for a sustainable, just, and peaceful future. Our human family is learning to create peace on and with the earth. Through the years, I've explored the many ways our human family is learning to live in harmony with nature. For more than a decade, a children's story has been growing in me to help my 9 grandchildren understand the way I see the world.
Welcome to Alachua County, Florida. I'm Willow. They call me a dreamer. I like to imagine the best possible way of looking at things.
I'm Leaf, and I'm a realist. I have to see it to believe it. We are telling a true story based on our 200-year history. A lot has changed since 1824.
We'll follow the environmental and social changes in this part of the world from 1824, when our county was founded, to present day.
In my imagination, fictional characters engage real people in the spiritual process of building community in a changing climate.
If I want to have a right relationship with God, I must have and seek shalom, which is peace and wholeness with all creation. And peace always begins with me.
Our collaborative storytelling adventure takes us on the road to 2030, when we win the United Nations global goals, so that we can reverse global warming by 2050 as we learn to live together in peace on and with the earth. There are 8 billion of us on this planet with 8 billion stories to tell. I start with my own and bring in fictional characters and real-life friends. I invite you into our imaginary world to find your role in the collaborative storytelling adventure. In my own real-life story, when I was a child, every classroom globe I'd ever seen showed the countries of the world in pastel colors. It pleased me to see the patchwork quilt of the continents. I spent hours coloring the borders and boundaries on black-line maps with my favorite colored pencils. I remember the utter shock I felt as a college student seeing that first picture of the Earth from space sent back from the moon. There we all were on that one small, fragile planet, hanging in the blackness of space. No borders, no boundaries. With a white blanket of clouds hugging the shimmering blue ocean. I dove into the environmental movements of that time. The first Earth Day in 1970, the call for legislation for clean air, water, and soil. I was concerned about the changes I saw happening, pollution, loss of habitat, endangered species. And I was encouraged by a growing movement of people striving to live in harmony with nature, reducing inequalities and appreciating diversity in the human family as well as in the natural world. In the 1980s, I took my young children to beach cleanups, fed them a diet for a small planet, and included children of different cultures in playgroups. When they were older, I taught reduce, reuse, recycle lessons in schools and communities with the sure knowledge that we could do better. I knew vaguely that our planet was warming and it would affect future generations. I told children in schools and communities that what we did now would affect their great-grandchildren. Little did I know I would see the devastating effects in my own lifetime. My understanding of global warming changed abruptly in 2013. I took an online course on the scientific and spiritual dimensions of climate change with 4 friends. We received reading materials during the week and got together on weekends to discuss what we were learning. I had never heard any of the scientific predictions of the disruption of civilization as the planet warmed. I was horrified to learn that my father's oil company was actively engaged in promoting disinformation about global warming, even though their research in the late 70s confirmed the impact of fossil fuels on climate change. Having grown up with the privilege afforded by the oil industry, I felt a personal responsibility to do something significant to reverse the damage done. As our final project in that virtual class, our small group of 5 Baha'is called ourselves the Interfaith Climate Group. We reached out to other faith groups in our community to see how they were helping to steward our environment. Our first event was a panel discussion with people representing 6 faith groups and an audience of about 100 people. That was followed by a series of panel discussions, presentations, workshops, movie nights, and skits. The community-wide, faith-based climate conversation had begun.
Let's talk climate.
Tell us about what inspires you and what's your climate story?
Hello, I'm Ellen Siegel, chairperson of the Climate Action Plan ad hoc team at Temple Shir Shalom in Gainesville. Our congregation was founded about 40 years ago, around 1984. A central teaching of Judaism is tikkun olam, repair the world. Over the years, our congregation has fed the hungry, helped shelter the unhoused, cleared trash from public areas, and we've collaborated with other faith communities in caring for our common home. We take our land acknowledgments seriously and understand our moral obligation to help areas less fortunate than ours. We also understand the imperative need to reduce our use of electricity and increase our property's ability to take carbon dioxide out of the air.
I felt a desire to engage and decided to join the conversation, knowing that it would take me beyond just sitting around and talking about important things, but to figuring out a way where I could fit into the picture. So when the collaboratory started inviting people to participate, I did join the conversation and got inspired to find out more about how climate change was impacting individuals that I have known.
3 years ago, I learned about the devastating effects of climate change. I had known something about it, but 3 years ago it really hit, and it became eco-anxiety, which manifested itself as the image of a rat eating at my stomach area, but never consuming me. Sometimes I wish that it would consume me so that the pain would be over. And very soon thereafter, I joined Citizens Climate Lobby, and I put my anxiety energy into that. So last year I trained as a climate ambassador for En-ROADS, and this is a simulator, climate simulator, that was developed at MIT Sloan by 23 Nobel laureates and 3,500 plus scientists, climatologists, financiers, economists, social activists. It's a simulator that shows us how to get below not only 2 degrees Celsius, but 1.5 degrees Celsius.
So I think a large part of what we're doing in the Climate Collaboratory is helping people to find the thing that they're most passionate about and knowing what organizations are already working on that, so that we don't have to feel like I have to start this all by myself. I can join an organization and work with other people who are just as passionate.
My climate story for tonight begins in 2018, when the Gainesville City Commission signed a bill promising to convert to 100% renewable energy by 2045. I spoke during their negotiations and I applauded on the day of their announcement. And now, if we skip ahead 3 years to 2021, after a slow start, the city of Gainesville started to act on that law. They signed a so-called power purchase agreement with a firm that promised to build a utility-sized solar array on a few hundred acres of land south of a small rural town in Alachua County. And again, I wrote a letter of support. The contractor once the power purchase agreement was signed, began to talk to the white and black neighbors that might be affected in some way by this solar array. And boy, did they get an earful. Folks next to that solar array were concerned about pollution, about falling property values, about racism, about threats to a way of life and to the wildlife they shared the earth with. And those same neighbors have now formed a powerful resistance to this solar array. Now, a final decision has not been reached, but the animus that this project has created is dividing rural and urban, black and white, and the environmental community. So I had to ask myself, why did I support this project that is so strongly resisted by the people most affected? And my reason was because I believe and believed that supporting clean, renewable energy is a moral imperative. And that support put me on the side of the angels. Well, it turns out that the angels do not side with solar and wind. They side with the principles of environmental justice. First, that all people need to be part of planning from the outset of a conversion to renewables. And second, that those most affected by the results need special benefits. And these principles were neglected in the planning of this previous projects in Alachua County.
I was a city commissioner here at the city of Gainesville for 2 years. And as a city commissioner, what I found that when people are wanting government to either do all of it, fix all the problems, or do nothing, I became aware that more and more what we need to do is embrace the responsibility that each of us has. Reaching out to our politicians and telling them what we need, but also then as citizens to see what it is that we can do. And one of the last acts that I got to do as a city commissioner is just one of the proudest things that I have got to experience. And that was when a friend approached me and asked me if I would lead the city into a proclamation that we are in a climate emergency. And when I was first reading the materials about that, I was like, oh, this is all doomsday and this is going to create chaos and all that. But as I read more and more, I became more aware of the venue of action that is available when we claim a climate emergency. And as a resident in Florida, the analogy is easy to say, when it's hurricane season, as we are approaching here in May with June just around the corner, when you hear about a hurricane and when you prepare for hurricane season, you get things in place, you get a plan, and you do what you know that you can if the hurricane is going to come to us. The climate crisis, that we are in an emergency status is something that we can share with our friends on a gentle message, but with urgency. It's really important to be able to have an element of urgency.
As an individual, I reached out to see what statewide, national, and international networks were doing. I participated in events with the Florida Interfaith Climate Actions Network, the Florida chapter of Interfaith Power and Light, and I moved to the Sustainable Living Center of the Florida Coalition for Peace and Justice with dreams of reviving the youth peace camps that had so inspired me decades earlier. I collaborated with the University of Florida's statewide Sustainable Floridians program and established the Sustainable Floridians and Climate Collaboratory right here in Alachua County.
And ultimately, after years of conversations about how to make it happen, we were just thrilled to be able to launch the Climate Collaboratory as a pilot project of the Sustainable Floridians program. and We the World. But it's just been a really exciting adventure and continues to inspire me with all of the different climate collaborators who've come into the conversations that we've held thus far, and are so clearly committed to doing this work for the long haul. They're committed to bringing their personal stories. They're committed to turning that into something tangible for not just our communities here in Gainesville and Alachua County and throughout Florida, but beyond, like truly connecting what we do at a grassroots to the global level and to the global sustainable development goals.
At last, I could see how individuals and organizations in my local community were part of the state, national, and global movements. We are all telling one story, and I began to share that in my children's story with the fictional characters looking back from the year 2050 to see what people were doing in the early years of the 21st century.
Way back in 2015, all 193 countries of the United Nations agreed unanimously to work together towards 17 global goals for 2030. Those critical years leading up to 2030 would determine the future of life on Earth for many generations to come.
As the children's story evolved in my mind, I published articles in We the World's quarterly magazine, Trends in Grassroots Global Organizing. I worked with young people to make short videos with glimpses of the collaborative storytelling adventure.
Those 17 global goals show people solutions that are making a difference around the world.
It looks like the scoreboard for a game. People love to play games.
You're right about that. People have been playing games for thousands of years.
What would a world game look like?
People in each community would decide what needed to be done locally.
Yeah, and people who take action for one of the goals would earn points for the Earth.
We told Alachua County's bicentennial climate story, which is now exhibited on the Matheson History Museum website. In 2025 and 26, we continue Alachua County's climate story with a fictional clean energy climate caravan visiting the Gardens of Global Unity, where all things are possible. The climate caravan will make stops at the real-life Alachua County Climate Festival in November, the imaginary Martin Luther King World House in January, the semi-illuminated Earth Charter for Earth Day in April, and the joyful celebration of life for America's 250th birthday in July 2026. We're truly on the road to 2030, 2050, and beyond. In its monthly virtual gatherings, the Baha'i-inspired Interfaith Climate Group, founded in 2013, provides a spiritual foundation for the community-wide climate conversation in action. Everyone has a story to tell. Many climate stories begin with a memory of a moment of deep connection with the natural world.
For me, it'd have to be like the ocean. So when I was younger, like 8 years old, I would love to be in the water, and I still do. And we would go to the beach, and I would be in there for like 4 hours and just swim everywhere all the time and love playing around and the breeze, the salty air. And my dad would be like, "We gotta go, it's time to go now." And I didn't want to leave. I was like, "No, let's let me stay in here."
Recently, 10 members of the Writers Alliance of Gainesville wrote climate memoirs. There's a link in the show notes. You'll also find a link to a form where you can begin to tell your climate story. In these turbulent times, the climate conversation is getting louder and clearer. By telling our individual and collective climate stories, we connect in many ways to the global networks of like-minded organizations with a common vision of a healthy, peaceful planet for many generations to come. Together, we are telling the story of how our human family is learning to create a world that works for all living things. We invite people of all ages to join us in this mighty spiritual enterprise.
I want to say congratulations to this group of climate collaborators that got together and did such great work and continue to educate the rest of us as we continue on. And thanks for letting me be a witness and a part of